What is it?
Let me show you some. These two are the main two that are hard to wash.
Okay.
And you need to use these right here
Mm-hmm.
to get the grease out.
Oh, we're at a paper towel?
Yeah.
Okay. This is now the lobster was on.
Okay. But it was just that she didn't want to be picked up by me or you.
Okay.
And that's because her stomach hurts.
I'm sorry, I'll have to pay attention to what I feed her from now on.
Yeah. Here she is.
Here, sweet pea. You're going to give you something to later. You queen bee, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you got sick from me. I'm sorry I made you sick. I'm sorry I gave you something to make you sick. I'm sorry I made you sick. Beautiful girl. My baby girl. Hello, one and all. Good to see you, Darwin. Good to see you, Sandy. Good to see you, Ronnie Braun. Good to see everybody in my channel, you know. Just been thinking about, you know, the concept of living in RVs and RV living, you know. And this is something that's held me back from the thought of the nomadic life. This has held me back this far now. I love you, baby girl. The sweet baby girl. You're so beautiful. I'm not a baby girl. Mm-hmm. I love you. You want some water? Okay. I'm just going to take this to the bag. And then I'm going to take it out. Take only one because I'm terminal got so far though. Thanks for washing. Okay. Here, honey, I'm taking you. I didn't know you needed well. You have to tell Mommy. Midnight. Oh, nice. This is for you. I'm sorry. Here. Here. You lay on. You're loud. No, I'm going to take you. Come on. Now, come on. We're going to go outside. And then I'll get you to it. Like, lay on in the bedroom. Come here. Lyle, come here. You want food? Okay. Well, maybe I'll have to give that the ball game. Come here. We'll do this, and then, we'll put it together. I give you all food and water. Yeah. Okay. But, you know, the main thing is that nomads have to do is, you know, the idea of using somebody else's driver's license on your, for your driver's license. In Kentucky, really, it's illegal, you know. I mean, technically now there's a new law in Kentucky that they're working on. There's a new law that they're working on that would make it easier for homeless people to be able to get a driver's license. But up until now, in Kentucky, legally, if you use a false address on somebody else's address on your driver's license, it's against the law, you know, to use someone else's address. And to have an address as a nomad, you know, to use an address as a nomad, maybe they'll never know. Maybe the police and the law will never know that you're using a false address. But in order to do it, you have to lie. You have to lie, you know. Or you can say refuse to self-incriminate, you know. You know, I can refuse to self-incriminate. But either way, because that is your right as an American. You have the right to Fifth Amendment, you know. You have the right to not self-incriminate. So basically, if you're a nomad and you live in your RV and you get pulled over by the police, you know, a standard thing for police to ask you when they pull you over is your information correct on your driver's license? Is your address up to date? And they see you in that camper at 2 in the morning, they're going to say, is your address up to date? Do you live at your address? I mean, if you don't live in your address, you're going to be lying to the police. I mean, you have to, some people call it fraud. And that's maybe not really fraud. Some people define fraud. Some people define fraud as deception in order to scam somebody or to cause harm. If that's what it is, you know. But some people consider it fraud. Address fraud, driver's license fraud, if you use someone else's address for your driver's license. They tried to make it difficult in Wisconsin. You can live in your motorhome with a post office box, but first they tell you you have to have an address to get the post office box. You know how it is. Nobody knows nothing, but they're willing to tell you everything. I guess that's true, Ronnie Braun. But it's just the idea, you know. A lot of law-abiding people, they really don't want to lie to the police, you know. And I'm not very, you know, I'm just not the person who likes to keep secrets, you know. I don't like keeping secrets. I don't like secrets. I don't like having to lie and steal. I don't like lying to the police. I don't like having to lie. If you can't just be yourself and live the truth, you know, the way you live your life, you know.
Well, I'm sorry that, I think you had two walls. Carol, you just go ladies. Too far up.
And to live this way, you have to lie. The only thing I don't like about it. That's just something that's held me back from the idea.
Good job. Come here. Now turn around. We're going on the couch. I'm gonna let you breathe.
You're living in an RV. To be completely legal, you know, I have to live in my mom's house. Now, if you live in the camper out back, then you can live in the camper out back, in the backyard. But either way, even if you don't really live at your house, you know, if I decide to live with my friend, and my friend lets me use her address and I live with her, I can tell her I'm only going to be there one day a month. But it's an understanding with her that I do live with her. Even though I don't actually stay there. Live with her, but not actually stay with her. So legally, you can live with somebody, but not actually stay in their house. But that just has to be an agreement that you make with the person that you're living with, that even though you don't actually stay at their house, you're still a legal resident. You still live there. And if you had an emergency and your RV broke down, you would have to go back there to live. You would have to go back there to get a court summons or anything like that. Anything important. Whether it's a court summons or anything else, you would have to get a court summons.
Guys, please.
But, I can agree to live with my friend, and even though I only stay with my friend one night a month, or if I park my camper in her driveway, I'm a legal resident at my friend's house because I live with my friend, and even though I don't stay with her but one night a month, or park my RV in her driveway one night a month, I would have to come back to her house for stuff like court summonses, and if anybody knocks on the door, they're going to talk to her and she's going to tell them that I live with her. Somebody has to agree to let you live with them legally. I've just bought a rowboat, but it has a hole in it. Oh no, Darwin, this sucks. You know it is. Nobody knows. But, Bob Wells is, oh, maybe you can patch the hole, Darwin. Is it a fiberglass hole? I've done some more videos on my boat, Darwin, about the holes in it. That fiberglass work is not too bad hard to do. It's not too bad to do that fiberglass work. Main thing is that, there's lots of videos, Darwin, about how to fix boats, I'm sure you can figure out how to fix that boat and get that hole fixed. Patching fiberglass is pretty straightforward. But if you agree with somebody and you agree to use somebody else's address for your driver's license, now it may be fraud, but the best way to change the law and make it legal for, now it's nomads. If you're not in an RV park, legally you're homeless. You're homeless because you have no physical address. Vagrant, homeless, whatever. No physical address. No fixed address. And some states I've read, some states have an option on the driver's license to say no fixed address. On some driver's licenses in some states, they have the option of saying no fixed address. I don't know what states have that option, but Kentucky is weighing a law right now, and they have a bill right now, Kentucky does. It's a Kentucky bill that's going through the Capitol, and it says that homeless people can get a driver's license. Make it easier and make it possible for a homeless person to have a driver's license. And it's the law in Kentucky as it stands right now. Legally, if you don't have an address, legally you can't drive a car. And I'm saying if you really had malicious intent to fraud someone with using the wrong address, they could put you in prison up to 5 years in prison for using fraud, Address fraud, mail fraud, it could carry a heavy penalty of prison time to use the wrong address, intentionally. When especially if you drove down the street and decided to pick a house out at random, if you decided to pick out a house at random, like Bob Wells said to do. Bob Wells said you can go down the streets and pick a house out at random. And you can use that on your driver's license, a house at random. I mean, if it's not even somebody that you lived at, you've got to be able to prove that you lived there for a while. The best thing I could tell you to do if you're a nomad and you need an address on your driver's license is the option we have as a nomad is to rent a room in someone's house. They call it boarders and boarding and renting a room. If my mom decides to rent out a room in this house to a boarder, she can advertise on Craigslist that she's renting out a room in her house and advertise it on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. And then Joe Blow down the street decides to rent a room for my mother. Joe Blow moves in here, and Joe Blow rents a room in here for $300 a month. Joe Blow rents a room in this house for $300 a month. And that would be his legal residence because he gets his mail here, Joe Blow does. Because he's a resident in this house. He rents here for $300 a month. Now, for $300 a month, you can get a room in someone's house. If someone's renting out a room in their house, you can get your legal mail there in that house. You can get a mail in someone's house. You can say it's 122 Elm Street. You know, 122 Elm Street, Mrs. Simmons rents out a room in her house on 122 Elm Street. You know, you rent from her, you rent from her. Oh, that's a good thing. But you can rent a room. You can get your mail at that house. You can get your mail at that house because if you want to get your driver's license as a nomad, you can decide to rent a room for 3 months. Now, if you decide to rent a room for 3 months, lots of people do it. Lots of people fail to update the address on their driver's license. You know, there's a difference between fraud using an address that was never your address. If you decide to do like Bob Wells and you decide to drive down the street, 122 Main Street, and use a random address off the street, random, and go to Google Maps and find a random address on Google Maps, and just use a random address on Google Maps for your driver's license and legal address, you can maybe get by with it, like Bob Wells said, but really, you don't have any proof that you ever lived there. You don't have any proof that you ever lived at that house. So my advice to you would get the cheapest rental you can find. That would be a room in someone else's house. A boarder is someone's house, 122 Elm Street. Old Mrs. Simmons is renting out a room in her house, an attic room in her house. Old Mrs. Simmons is. And I'm renting a room from Mrs. Simmons. I'm getting all my mail at Mrs. Simmons' house, 122 Elm Street. And that's where I'm getting my mail. And I can rent this house, this attic apartment, attic room. It's not even an apartment, it's just a little room in an attic. Just like in Roman Bates and the Bates Motel in Psycho 2. You know, you can rent a room in anywhere and get your mail there and have your legal address there and get your driver's license. Now, it's not going to be as big of a crime if you fail to update your license. There are a lot of people that don't update their address on the driver's license. It's better for you to have once lived there and have proof that you used to live at that address. It's not really fraud. You just refuse to update your driver's license, your address and your driver's license. But you at one time did actually live there, and you do have bank statements, you have vehicle registrations, bank statements, advertisements. You know, you have bills that have actually came to that address. You have bank statements and bills that have actually came to that address. You know, and so you can prove that you did live there. So that is true. So if you had the money, you could rent a cheap room for 3 months and get your address, get your legal address or a campground or wherever you can get your mail. But you've got to be able to receive mail. You've got to be able to use it as a legal address to receive mail. That's a good thing I've had in my mind, an idea I thought I'd pass on to you all because it's a nice idea that I've had. So take that first, spread that around on the nomadic community. Spread that around. I'm busy right now.
I just want to tell you two of them, and I'll do the rest.
What now? You'll do the rest.
If you do the skills.
Oh, I'm almost done.
I know, I tried to help.
Thank you, I appreciate it. You know, I'll be done in a little bit.
I was just thinking that, okay, the one doing skills, and I want to see what Molly did.
What's she doing?
She had something in her mail,
Yeah.
and I told her a piece of linen or something,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to bother you, so I followed her in your bedroom,
Yeah.
and it was a piece of bowel movement.
Well, I'm glad you did that.
No, I think she ate.
Oh, well, I'm sorry she did. I hope she didn't. I'll have to give her something good to eat or something.
Yeah. I mean, she eats like that, and I can see you. I can finish if you just do those payments. Would you like to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you go back to the bedroom. But, I mean, I don't mind now. Cause you, that blue scooter,
Yeah.
I've worked and worked on.
I got it clean.
Good. And if you need me to rinse the others, I will. It doesn't think Miley needs you more than I need you to wash dishes.
Yep. And then last. Yeah.
I don't mind finishing. If I don't mind rinsing.
And so anyway, people, back to what we're talking about. Anyway, and that's an idea, and I believe in what Bob Wells says, and he does some good stuff. But you just need to consider that and think about that as a point of view, as part of your point of view. That a lot of the states, that's why there's few states that are nomad friendly to stay in. So I know that South Dakota is a really good state, and I know that they always say South Dakota. It's easy to get residence and legal residence in South Dakota is one of the easiest to do. Now, if you don't mind, a mobile traveler is a guy who lives in South Dakota, and I think he has his residency in South Dakota. That mobile traveler, do you know who mobile traveler is? Mobile traveler is with Aja, Pandemonium, and all those people. That's what mobile traveler is. So, and he uses, I think he's South Dakota. And so, I'm not sure, but I think he is. But it's different for all of us, but what we need to do is tell our legislators, our senators, get involved politically, and say, I'm busy talking about a personal conversation.
I know, but I was gonna let you take her and me take over.
Well, that's fine. Okay. They need to be rinsed.
Okay, I can do that. If you'll take that, that's in the bedroom. I'm trying to help you.
Thank you. And I need to take the garbage out.
Yeah, do that. That's the most important thing. Molly needs you right now.
Okay. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, is being a nomad is having a legal address. You got to think about a legal address in that South Dakota. Me, I don't mind cold weather. It doesn't bother me. I don't care about cold weather. But South Dakota is a good place because you don't have registration. I mean, you don't have car inspections and safety inspections on cars. You stay one night at a hotel. Get your residency in South Dakota. Very easy to get residency in South Dakota. They don't give a yearly eye test. You know, I don't like these states that have to test your eyes every 4 years. You know, it's 5 years you register your car in South Dakota. Very easy to do. You sign a nomad affidavit in South Dakota. It's a nomad affidavit. A document you sign that as soon as you're done living full-time in your RV traveling, you will come back to South Dakota. And that's your law. Excuse me. Now, you don't have expanded Medicaid in South Dakota. You don't have expanded Medicaid in South Dakota. I just wanted to tell you guys all this stuff that for nomads, you know, that I'm thinking about living the nomad life as a full-time van dweller, RVer. And I'm thinking about doing it. And I've been, you know, living in my mother's backyard in my truck camper. I'm wanting to live in my truck camper, but you can live in your RV in one place and have a legal address. You can live like, you know, if I stay in my mother's backyard, or if I had a friend with a farm, or anywhere that you can get your mail and live there in your camper. You can live on a piece of land like Ronnie Braun. Ronnie lives in a campground, you see. And the trailer I have, the vintage trailer I have, 1966 Volunteer. The body of this camper is 13 and a half feet long. It's small, yes, but it's bigger than a truck camper. And maybe even possibly bigger than a van. And I'm thinking of, now we got a call now, a freaking phone call. I'm gonna let you go.